Alright, I'm gonna try to do a response to Gina's coming out video, because I think it's important. You have to bear with me though, because even before my memory disappeared, there are times in my life that I've completely blocked out. And I really don't recall 2 years of my life. I guess the first thing you want to know is, when did I know I was gay? Because people ask that a lot. I grew up racing. From the time I could walk, I was in a race car. I raced go-karts, I did BMX, I did drag racing. Anything that had a motor, I was in it, and I was going. Motorcycle, everything. I was a grease monkey. Probably some of my earliest memories, and this has taken a while to drag and dredge up, but are of being in our garage, and my dad worked on bikes, and being covered in grease, and playing with tools. Have you ever seen the Allen wrenches they have like a plastic colored tops, you know what size they are? And it basically looks like a T. And my dad would stir his tea with it, and I was like, "What's that for?" And he's like, "It's a tea stirrer." So that's what I always called it, even though it's an Allen wrench. Later on, I speed skated after I drag raced. So I don't know why my dad was surprised when I was a lesbian. He kind of made me one. I didn't really come out. I was kind of kicked out of the closet. Kind of. I don't know the specific dates, but somewhere around my sophomore year, I moved in with my dad and his third wife, who had 3 daughters. And one of them did color guard, so we had something in common. It was pretty cool. And it's so weird, but it's totally true. Anyway, this is really strange. I'm sorry, you're gonna find it really strange, but to me, it wasn't really strange. We went to band camp that summer, and we pretty much started dating right after band camp. And after band camp, my dad hooked up with her mom, so I was dating my dad's girlfriend's daughter. But nothing about it ever seemed awkward, at least not to us. I don't know how long we dated. Almost 3 years we kept it hidden from everybody, and we lived in the same house. Somehow a paper came up, and somehow we were caught. We were separated, and I slept on the couch for 3 months, and there was talk of sending her to another school. All the teachers were alerted that we weren't supposed to be together. And I think the relationship could have fizzled out on its own. But because we both came from backgrounds with divorced parents, we were determined to make this relationship work. And we fought for it for so long. And one night I was leaving to drive uptown to my mom's house. And I want to say my mom and I went to go get some ice cream. So it must have been, this was after we were found out. So it must have been, I don't know. I was old enough to drive. I know that. And my mom and I went and got ice cream. And I remember my girlfriend at the time, when I left, she said, "Make sure you buckle up." Which was really strange because I always wore my seatbelt. She'd never seen me without one, and I was like, okay, and I didn't think a thing of it. I was leaving to come home, and I was looking for my cell phone to let my dad know that I was gonna be in past curfew, because it took a little longer at my mom's house. There's a 2-lane road that's really, really, it's got a whole lot of curves and a lot of houses and apartments on the way home. It was kind of the shortcut. And there was a car that was in my lane, and I think they were drunk. And I swerved to miss them, and I jumped the embankment in my car, and I hit 17 trees going down a hill. There was a tree through the windshield. I could not find my cell phone. I was freaking out. And while I was freaking out, my horn was blowing, and all I could think of is, my dad's gonna kill me. My dad's gonna kill me. And I was less than a mile from my mom's house, so obviously I called her first, but I couldn't get an answer. So finally, a cop came out. He lived nearby, and anyway, the car got towed. Had I not had on my seatbelt, I would have went through the window and died instantly. The interesting thing is, I left to stay with my dad because I thought my mom was really against me being gay. There was a girl with some kind of weird, I don't even know, the weird infatuation with me, and there were some odd things that were happening. My mom was freaking out. And that's kind of when I made the decision to go live with my dad. I thought, hey, I've never lived with him. Can't hurt. The night before I left, the night that I left, basically, before leaving to head home, I told my mom, and she was perfectly okay with it. And that was a large, large, large relief based on what I was facing at home at that point. The car was totaled, and it was pulled out, and I rode in the police car to my mom's house. And I know it must have been one of the most terrifying nights of her life, for me to come out and then to get in this horrendous car accident. And I told her she had to call my dad. I couldn't talk to him. I was so terrified of him. She called, and the first thing he asked was, how much damage is there to the car? Not if I was okay. Sweet, right? So I got home that night. Actually, we went to the emergency room. I'd broken most of my toes, bruised a lot of ribs. I think I broke a rib or two. I don't remember. This is part of the stuff I blocked out. But I was fine with the scene. I had so much adrenaline. My mom was like, we need to go to the ER just in case. So we did. And I got home, and I went in and saw my dad, and he was just royally pissed. And the girl and I shared a bedroom, and nobody told her that I was in an accident. And they knew for hours and hours in advance. She flipped out. She thought I was gonna die. Everybody I date seems to think I'm gonna die. Maybe it's prophecies. Anyway, I ended up moving out very abruptly from my dad's house. It just got too much to bear. There was one other person in my high school, which was pretty small, who was out and had been out for a long time. He was one of my good friends. And on the way to class one day, I was walking, and one of the baseball players took a rock and threw it at my head with some slanderous words. And the teacher I went to saw, she was kind of a bigot, to be honest. And I was like, I need to go to the office. My head was split wide open. I was bleeding. She's like, no, you need to stay here. And she wouldn't let me go to the office to get my head taken care of. So, beyond that, I haven't faced a lot of oppression, I guess. But the whole 2 to 3 year period was torture. Complete torture. And I somehow survived it. Even now, with Jackie, we really don't face a lot of resistance at all. Thankfully. That's about it, really, because it's all I can remember. But I thought this was important to post. Just to know that you're not alone. There are lots of us out there. Take care.